Most people believe that there is something fundamentally wrong with the way we are governed, but how can we reshape Parliament so that it represents the best interests of everyone? Conventional political parties are locked into an institutional straitjacket. They either represent the interests of the rich, or they try to cope with the collateral damage from what I call our culture of cheating. In my new book, As Evil Does, I explain that our social problems can be traced back to that culture of cheating. The book's subtitle is Anatomy of a Killing Cult. But is our society really in the grip of a killing cult? A culture that we have learned to live with? A cult which makes some people rich? The reality of everyday life is shocking. Take the case of children born in Britain today. The culture of cheating endows some of them with riches from cradle to grave. Their families possess assets which give them a good start in life, and a long life at that. But for millions of other babies, the endowment is a mortal one. The killing process begins at birth. Mortality rates are higher for babies born in low-income areas than for babies born to high-income mothers. But low-income babies that survive are still exposed to the killing syndrome. Scientists have established that those babies tend to have smaller brains than children nurtured into high-income families. The killing begins at the level of the cells in the brain. The limbic brain regulates emotions like love. If that part of the brain is damaged, personality is damaged. That has a lifetime impact, and the disabilities are conveyed intergenerationally. The killing takes the form of destroying hope and aspiration. Constraints on educational attainment prejudice prospects of employment. Stresses drive many people to self-harm. And then, ultimately, the killing cult claims its victims through the premature deaths of tens of thousands of people every year in Britain. The victims are deprived of up to 12 years of life. Babies born today in Blackpool, for example, or in the Drumchapel suburb of Glasgow, will on average live 12 fewer years than babies born in the London borough of Kensington and Chelsea. That is killing as an institutionalized process, and it is the consequence of the way income is maldistributed. We cannot equalize people's life chances by employing conventional taxes. Take the claim that our tax system is progressive. Taxes are levied at higher rates on those who enjoy high incomes. But after 70 years of progressive taxation, Britain still has millions of families living in desperate conditions. Progressive taxes do not cure our poverty. Why? Tax laws are rigged to favour those who own assets that give them privileged access to the nation's rents. When considering how best to fund public services, the question we should ask is this: how did rich people become rich? Did they add value to the wealth of the nation? If so, why lump them in, for tax purposes, with the people who got rich by capturing value created by others? George Osborne's summer budget, presented it to Britain last week, is a model of the kind of double talk that damages the reputation of Parliament. Osborne claimed to be reforming the welfare budget to encourage people who are in work, but the numbers were crunched by the Institute for Fiscal Studies. They discovered that the big losers are the low-income people who are in work. The big winners from Osborne's tax policies are people who privatise and pocket the nation's taxable income. That income is technically called economic rent. Economic rent is the natural source of revenue for funding public services. Collecting it does not impose a burden on anybody. That financial policy is based on the principle that people should keep what they create and pay for the benefits which they receive. Now, you might say that we already pay for the services that we receive from government. Not true. Some of us, and that includes the owners of residential property, are subsidised by people who do not own their homes. People who rent their homes do not receive the capital gains which we owners are able to pocket. Capital gains arise when we fail to pay the full cost of the services that we receive in the locations where we live and work. Capital gains are the measure of the subsidy we receive from people who do not own rent-yielding assets. This injustice arose because Parliament was captured by the landed aristocracy back in the 17th century. Not surprisingly then, the policies administered by Parliament continue to favour landowners. The majority of landowners are middle-class homeowners. We have been co-opted into the killing cult. Our ancestors did not consent to that culture of cheating. We need to find ways to escape from its clutches. To do so, we need new approaches to political activism. We need a national conversation about the future of our country. People need to take back the power that belongs to them. Hasn't the time come to terminate the killing that is executed by Act of Parliament? There is one way only to do that. We need to abolish the cruel taxes that are levied on wages and raise the public's revenue from the rents that we all help to create.